Welcome to Bad Cold Outreach. This is our 4th episode. The goal of this is to look at bad cold outreach, make fun of it, tell you why it's bad, and make it, make it a little better.
Teach you how to do cold outreach that maybe gets you somewhere.
Yep. If you have things that you want us to look over that you've written, or things that people have sent you, send it over to us, clientvendingmachine@gmail.com.
We might call you out on one of our episodes, but
yeah, we might. Yeah, if you want us to call you out and make fun of your copy, then we will. Of course, all in love.
Actually, that would be really cool, because then you could make it better, and then we could do a follow-up video.
Exactly.
Look at how they took our advice, and we made cold outreach that
still
works.
Make fun of it.
Yes, it's always
that's our job. Yeah. But I found some doozies today. I was looking through my inbox, and it was looking all sparse. So I'm like, then I started thinking, like, what's some of the worst emails, sales emails that have ever been sent? And so that led me down a rabbit hole. A lot of images, a lot of searching, and I found these two which make me laugh. And so I'm gonna reveal it, woohoo! And gonna read this now. Devin, you want to take the first paragraph?
Hey, Joey.
That's the part that. Okay, so you don't want to call someone Joey. That's the first mistake they made. Captain literally right here. Do you want to read the second paragraph as well?
Yeah, sure. Just wanted to check in and see what's going on with your various swag needs. Not sure if you've checked out the site I set up for you lately, link, but we've added a ton of new stuff, and I'd say only about 10% of it is total crap. I mean, it can't all be great. I make my living selling pens and mugs after all. But man, that other 90%. I've spent a lot of time drinking and reading gadget blogs, in that order. And I've found some killer stuff.
You want me to continue on, or do you want to start there? Because I really want to read. I'm reading this next paragraph, and you cannot stop me.
Anyways,
if you haven't looked in a while, you're missing out. You'd be like that one quiet girl at junior high that never saw Star Wars because her parents thought it was portraying women was degrading. So please go on there and buy something right now. It will save you, and by extension your company, from being square. And it'll save me from selling hot dog t-shirts for the rest of my life. That really is a product on there, and I'll send you a free one if I can find it. I love this in a deep cathartic part of my soul. It makes me happy and terrified and scared and amazed all at once.
This is somebody who isn't very experienced, but is studying copywriting and putting it into practice, and it's very obvious. And I say that because there's a lot of elements in it that are good, just not executed well.
Yes.
And it's a very entertaining thing to read. So this is actually, like, as far as bad cold outreach goes, like, there's a lot in here that I just want to say good job to.
Yeah. The elements, like, it's like the idea of it, like they obviously read something or saw something like, oh, these are some elements that I can include. Just done in a weird way.
And I'll say this too, as a general rule, humor, when done right, is an incredibly powerful sales technique. It's very good in copy.
Yep.
But humor is very, very, very hard to do right.
Especially over text.
Generally speaking, it is smarter when starting out to write copy that does not have humor in it. Because it's hard. And when you mess up, you end up admitting that 10% of your own products are crap.
Yep.
And that's like, you have already confirmed in me that I should not work with you.
Yeah.
Because you sell things on purpose that you don't believe in.
Yeah. And also the line, I've spent a lot of time drinking and reading gadget blogs in that order. Like, that sounds like a college student, like a frat. It almost sounds like a frat bro who's trying to be a copywriter.
Well, and the funny thing is, like, the essence of what they're doing there frequently works really well. But why do I care that you're reading gadget blogs?
Yeah.
So, like, I'm gonna give an example where the same exact notion worked well from Ramit Sethi in one of his emails.
Okay.
If you don't know who Ramit Sethi is, he's very much in the, like, get started making money online space.
Yep.
And he has some of the best emails
Yeah.
in the industry.
Yeah. He spends a lot of money and time on his emails.
They're really, really good. And so there's one of them where he's giving this narrative and he's like, if you're anything like me, then you don't even know 90% of the things that you subscribed to because the free thing sounded interesting once, and then you didn't follow up with it, and you don't even know what it was. But as a result, you have just thousands and thousands of emails that you know you need to go through and unsubscribe from all these things. And you do exactly what I do every 6 months. You take 2 shots of tequila, you sit down, and you hammer it out.
Right.
That's the same sentiment done right.
It's instead of saying, and it's like the difference, like there's some elements in there. First of all, he's being relatable. And relatable in a comedic way, in like the comedic way of being relatable and exaggerating. Being like, don't we all do this? And then exaggerating it, and that's what makes it funny, right? Because at first you relate, and you're like, well, I don't do that because that's ridiculous, and that's what makes it funny, right? This is like being relatable, being like, I spent a lot of time drinking and reading gadget blogs. There's nothing about that that starts with in that order. I'm like, why is like in that order is supposed to be like a punchline, right? Being like the phrase, like my favorite example of that is men like meat explosions and women in that order. Right, and it's part of a sketch, and it sounds sexist, and because the character, well, it's a long story, but it's that's like the punchline, right? Is that you're telling them what's most important, and it's surprising, and that's why it's funny.
So the other thing I want to point out about it too, this is just some fundamental copywriting. It's like I think the term is generally just like slippery slope. But every single line of copy has one primary job, and it's getting you to read the next line.
Mm-hmm.
So everything needs to be contributing to the end goal. Every piece needs to have some functionality to it. It needs to be in there for a purpose, and it needs to earn its right into the page.
Yeah, I mean, this definitely made me watch.
So.
Read the second line.
I mean, it can't all be great. I make my living selling pens and mugs after all. But man, the other 90%, period. I've spent a lot of time drinking and reading gadget blogs, and I've found some killer stuff. What does that have to do with what you were talking about, though?
Yeah.
Like, you just took a very hard, sharp turn in an effort of making a joke, but now I don't know what you're getting at.
Mm-hmm.
You've just confused me. And you also confused me by ending on a sentence. Like, the sentence prior was a sentence fragment. What about that other 90%? That's what you should have made a joke about if you were going to make a joke. Actually, you shouldn't have made a joke because you've already made a bad one. But that's a different issue.
Exactly. Or just make it a different paragraph. Like, if you made a different paragraph, like, man, that other 90%. Anyway, and then paragraph, I spent a lot of time, like, that at least gives some kind of context. But even then, it's bad context. You're right. There's no hard turn. I mean, I meant as far as it being hilarious and sad to read. That's what keeps me reading, but it does not make me want to buy anything.
Right.
And then he tries to go into relatability. I assume it's a guy, but is that assumption wrong? We'll talk about it on our philosophy podcast.
By the way, this obviously wasn't sent to you because your name's not Joey. Did you just find this online?
I said that at the beginning.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was like, how bad can copy get? Because I've seen some bad copy, but it's never been like disgustingly bad, right? So I'm like, what? How bad is the real? Was a real world example? I think
you've already done some stuff on this show that was disgustingly bad,
but not as bad as this. I don't know.
This was fun.
There's a difference of opinion. It was fun to read. That's true. That's true.
So if copy has 2 jobs, well, one. Like I said, every line needs to get you to read the next line.
Yeah.
So because if you don't read, you can't be sold, right? Then the copy's true job is to sell you on something. So this hasn't sold me, but the other things we've looked at, I wouldn't keep reading. So I think it's better than what we've looked at so far on this show.
Interesting.
Because none of them would have sold me either because I would have stopped reading. At least he got me to read.
Okay. I can, yeah, I can appreciate that.
Mm.
But yeah, it's an attempt, and like I think the closest thing he has to humor, is it will save me from selling hot dog shirts for the rest of my life. Yes, that's a product really on here. I'll send you one for free if I can find it.
I love that line. I think
Is it
that's
like,
actually good.
isn't that kind of funny?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't do a good job of selling me, but it still explains what the product is, and it's kind of funny. You know, you're like, okay,
Well, and it's also like there's generally a hurdle to purchase that's just what's in it for you. And
yeah,
being blunt and answering that question is always a good tactic. And I
yeah,
mean, Luke, you've seen me do it in like our sales calls, where I will
yep,
just say, what can we do that's not giving away the farm because we need to stay in business too,
right, exactly,
right? Because like, oh, that's why you need my money because you're in business too. Duh.
yeah,
But I just own it, right? And I think
mm-hmm.
he does a good job of just owning it right there, of saying, I want you to buy this because it'll be good for you and it's going to save me from having to sell hot dog t-shirts. No, really, I have
Yeah,
hot dog t-shirts. I'll give you.
yeah,
I think that's great.
yeah,
And I
yeah,
think it's really great if I were to follow up with this person and say, yes, I want a hot dog t-shirt. And they
and they
actually
sent you
gave
one.
me one.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
think that would actually get me to do business with him.
interesting.
If he actually sent me a free hot dog t-shirt.
Yeah, because I know
He would
yeah,
still,
because
for me personally, have to overcome the admitting that you're intentionally selling crap.
right,
But
exactly.
if that wasn't there, that sentence
Yeah,
would make me say, yes, I want a t-shirt. And if he sent it to me, I'd want to do business with him.
yeah. And there's like, yeah, that's really interesting. I think the other stab, I think the second paragraph is by far much better than the first.
Agreed.
Like you'd be like the one quiet girl in junior high. I'm like, that's not too relatable. Who never saw Star Wars and the parents that portrayed women was great. I'm like, is that really a reason that people didn't
No.
let the
Actually,
kids go see
the
Star Wars?
idea,
Like that's
though,
not a reason.
the idea, though, cut out quiet girl. And cut out the reason. And then
Yeah,
you'd be like the one girl in junior high who hasn't seen Star Wars and can't talk to her friends.
right. Or I haven't
And
seen
I mean,
Star
that's
Wars.
not
Yeah,
necessarily good, but like hasn't
yeah.
seen Star Wars. Who hasn't seen Star Wars, who hasn't seen Star Wars and can't talk about why, like,
Right, or it's again, didn't see Star Wars because their parents didn't buy or like didn't think that it was that important of a life event for you, you know, or like something like that,
what are the little bears?
Ewoks.
Yeah, thank you. I was like, tongue tied.
The little bears.
But like that line, like you'd be like
Yeah.
the one girl in junior high that never saw Star Wars and didn't understand why Ewoks sucked, like, or why,
Yeah.
and didn't understand why Jar Jar Binks sucks, like,
Yeah, right.
like that might work,
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing when it comes to relatability. Like, make sure that make sure it's relatable beyond just you.
Mhm.
And an easy way to do that is to post a meme on Reddit and see if people like it. Then it's relatable.
Life hacks.
Yeah. Or just mention it, or just turn to your coworker and go, "Hey, did you know that one quiet girl in middle school that like didn't see Star Wars because her parents thought the women was degrading?" And they're like, "What? No. Like, what are you talking about?" Then that's the thing. Like, oh, my experience is not universal. That's a really simple way of
Another
just
thing too, when
answering
you're
that
trying to
question.
put humor into your copy, you should do exactly what most stand-up comedians do to figure out if something's gonna go on their show.
You test it.
When you say something and
Mhm.
somebody laughs, figure out
Right.
why.
Yep. And also write it down.
Yep.
Write it down and then analyze and be like, well, what about this made sense? If I add like Seinfeld is really well known for editing his thing down by the word and being like, this word, if I say like the instead of is that funnier? You know? To the letter. And his comedy is very tightly scripted. And they said there's this one comedian talking about him saying like, yeah, he would go up, he'd do a tight five or something like that, like he'd do, and then you see him immediately step down and start scribbling in his notebook, and start recording of like what made people laugh, what if I change this, will this make people laugh, and he basically just can A/B test it over and over
Do
and
you have
over
more?
again. I do. I have one more.
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's end it on this one. I mean, I don't.
Okay.
I wanted to keep it lighthearted. Today, really simple, But so I've found this as well. And this made me laugh simply because there's also a very there's a sketch I love about a salesman that basically just talks in jargon. And it was based on, the writer was talking about how it was based on a real website that he went on that someone was trying to sell him on, where it's all just jargon and you have no idea what's actually happening, or what they're actually trying to talk about.
Industry jargon, actually, just as a concept, it's like audience awareness is super, super important whenever you're writing anything, whenever you're reaching out to anybody in any form of marketing, including cold outreach. But if you are unsure of their actual familiarity with the industry, just don't use industry jargon.
Yep. And so this for me really cemented it, is that you I'm just gonna read it. If Devin, if you want to butt in, just butt in. Very much reaching out of the blue here, but would love to connect and explore potential synergies with your company. Right? Synergy already that bugs me. Cross-chain and coin agnostic platform with third-gen unifying ledger, biometric wallet, and zero gas fees or staking. With integrated storefronts and incentivization, over 7 MLN, whatever that means, users in the ecosystem were picked by the UK. What? Million. Oh, million. That's interesting. We're picked by the UK government as an easy button for blockchain. Let me know if we may chat. And
I made a lot of money in the crypto space in 2017 because it was very easy in 2017. Not because I'm smart. In 2017, I thought I was. But I understood maybe half of that. And I was obsessively studying blockchain technology in 2017.
Yeah.
I understood maybe half of that.
And that's the thing, is that and the reason why I brought this up is because this is where the ego of the salesman comes in. And where, I'm super smart. I know what I'm talking about. I'm an expert. So I'm going to write like I know exactly what I'm talking about.
It could also be cursive knowledge.
I doubt it. And usually in cases like these, it's usually people being like, look at us, we're super smart.
So I mean, there's two ways. It
depends on the context.
Right, but it could be cursive knowledge, and it could be the prospect can handle it.
Yeah.
Like there's still situations where like there is like intentional prospects who you could send this to and it would work.
Sure. Well, maybe not this exact one, but yeah.
Well, actually, I personally know a few people who I think would respond to this. Because I know people who've made millions and millions in cryptocurrencies for like basically since Bitcoin was invented, like for a very long time, and they would see this and they would probably respond with like you must be talking about XYZ. Like, yeah.
Well, yeah, and so that's why, like, and obviously I don't know anything about this. The reason why I brought it up is because a lot of times I'll get messages, or I'll see messages, or even I would try to send some way back in the day where I'm like, I know what I'm talking about. I've got this. You need to trust me that I know what I'm talking about. And the more I did sales, the more I learned. I'm like, that the best way to present yourself as an expert is genuinely help them solve a problem.
Mm-hmm. And that's the other thing too, because if it is an ego thing, this is your ego running up against theirs.
Yep.
And as soon as they feel threatened, they're not buying.
Yep. Exactly. And so that's kind of want to end on. We're going to keep it a little short today. And when I say short, we already went way past what I already planned on on the episode.
These are supposed to be like 10 minutes, right? Isn't that like the goal? What are we at?
Yeah.
We're at like 20.
Yeah.
So go us. We did it.
When cut down, it'll be shorter. But yeah, I wanted to keep it a little lighthearted today. We'll be back next week. I'll be scanning through my messages, and so will Devin, and we'll find some things that are personally sent to us or things that have been sent to you. And maybe we'll look at some good outreach. Who knows? We can do whatever we want. This is our show. That's the theme of anything that we do together, or anything I do. It's mine. Nothing you can do about it.
I think I have a little bit of a say.
Maybe a little bit. A tiny little bit. Yeah. But anyway, Thanks for watching this episode of Bad Code Outreach. We'll be back next week.
Doo-doo-doo.
Do-do-do. Ba-da-do-do-do-do-do-do.
That's a wrap. Because you
No.
have a little
Oh,
crap
I
in
was
place.
starting. Oh, are you not riffing? I was.
Oh, no, I am.
Oh. That's the problem. I don't know if I'm going to keep this in or not. That's the problem, is that Devin and I riff so much that sometimes you're like, wait, are you doing a bit? Or are you saying to like start over?